Thanks for joining me on this episode where we're going to be looking at common sources of atmospheric pollutants. Important topic that builds on the stuff covered previously in the greenhouse gases episodes, so make sure you check those out. We're going to be talking about reducing carbon footprints and all different changes that can be made to help the environment. So let's dive in. A carbon footprint, what is that? A carbon footprint is a measure of the total amount of greenhouse gases emitted as a result of a particular service, event, or product. The following are ways that we can minimize carbon footprints. Individuals, what can you do? Individuals can reduce their carbon footprint by maximizing the efficiency of their energy use, minimizing their waste, and using renewable energy sources. What about the government? What can they do? So they can impose emission-based tax, emission caps, and emission licenses up to a certain cap, and these have to be bought. Carbon capture and storage. What's that? Well, carbon dioxide is produced by the burning of fossil fuels. It can be captured before it's released into the atmosphere, and the carbon that is captured is stored deep underground. Carbon offsetting is something else. We can compensate, like make up for emissions, by planting trees. Trees remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through photosynthesis. We can also use carbon neutral products, and these are products that don't change the atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration. So, do we remember the name of products that don't affect the atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration? Honey, they are carbon neutral. So those are the products we want to help our cute little environment stay nice and happy. And what are 3 things that an individual can do to reduce their carbon footprint? Well, we can maximize the efficiency of our energy use, minimize waste, and use renewable energy sources. Now, this is all well and good, but we all know there are some barriers to reducing carbon footprints. So we may know how to do it, but there are other factors which means it's not as easy as it could be. So there are some scientific factors, right? So scientists don't agree on the cause and consequence of climate change. That's covered in the previous episode of Greenhouse Gases 2. So make sure you check that out. We spill the tea. We get the information on misinformation and peer-reviewed evidence. You want to check it out. But because these scientists can't agree, it does make it difficult to make significant advances. Not to pass the blame, but it is what's happening. There is also some economic factors we need to talk about. So, many governments worry that making the required changes could restrict economic development of the country. And this attitude is most common in developing countries. Bear in mind, like England, we had our Industrial Revolution hundreds of years ago, but we didn't know the consequences of burning so many fossil fuels and that kind of stuff. There are also some political factors, as always, and countries have different opinions about the right course of oxygen. Right course of action, not right course of oxygen. Get it together, Jono. And basically, these political factors spread uncertainty. So countries aren't sure what other countries would do when presented with a potential international agreement. So countries are a little bit hesitant to sign anything. And finally, there are also some social factors. People in developed countries might not want to change their lifestyles. And some societies don't make progress as their people are not educated on the importance of changing lifestyles. So 4 key things that can be barriers on reducing carbon footprints. Firstly is resistance to lifestyle changes. Secondly is insufficient education. Third are economic factors. And 4th are scientific disagreements. Okay. Now, do we remember the following the methods which can reduce carbon footprints from the beginning? I know you can. Come on, dig deep. So we've got carbon capture and storage technology where CO2 is stored deep underground, the use of carbon neutral products, and carbon offsetting. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I hope it was useful and gave you some interesting food for thought. Make sure you check out the next episode. I'm going to be going into even more detail and talking about sources of common atmospheric pollutants, part 2. Get excited.